Hey guys, Rickon here, and today I'm going to be answering some of your VR questions in the first episode of VR Ask. So, let's get right into the first question, and the first question we have here is from JV the B on Discord. What are your thoughts on release dates on Quest? When people/companies tell us the release date of a new game that includes Quest, it never releases on the day they said. Personally, I think that if they release it later than other VR headsets, then they should tell us instead of saying it is going to be released on the same day. So, that's a really great question actually, and my thoughts on this is that it's not usually the developers lying, it's mostly just misconception. There's always tons of confusion around Quest releases, as developers that have been working on a game for say around a year or more started development before the Quest even existed. So Quest support came as an afterthought. And as the Quest is a new device with graphical limitations, developers just don't know when they'll be able to get the game out. So, now we have a question from Mr. Egg. And he asks, who do you think will be most popular? Oculus, Valve, or HTC? I personally think Oculus is making some huge strides in customer adoption of VR with the Quest, and honestly, I do think standalone is the future of VR. I do tend to prefer a wide setup for the graphically stunning games, but I do fully understand not everyone has access to a gaming PC or a current gen console to run a power-hungry game. I hope that answered your question. So, now we have quite a few questions from Mr. Chris, and the first one I'm going to answer is what is the most annoying thing about Rift and PSVR? User Jack B also asked the question pretty similar to this, so I'm going to just say one answer for these two questions. So, they asked, because you've had PSVR and a Rift, what are the things you've disliked about each one? So, I'd probably say the same as most people for these, but for PSVR, it is definitely the tracking. It is just not viable at all, as it has a single camera and uses a pretty primitive method of tracking in the lights on the headset. And for Rift, I personally dislike the software, as I've had so many problems with it, and it's been one of the main reasons I want an Index. I really just prefer SteamVR. And now for another question from Mr. Chris, and again, Luna also had a pretty similar question to that. They both asked, do you think VR will be the future of gaming? So, as I said in my introduction to VR video, virtual reality is truly magical. And no, it may not be the future of technology, but it will always be a future. And what I meant by that is that classic flat screen gaming will always be a titan in the industry, but in the future I think that almost all AAA games will have a VR mode, and I think virtual reality will be around forever in some shape or form. And now some questions that are mainly linked to me instead of VR as a whole. So starting off with the most suggested question, which was, what is your favorite VR game? This was asked by Agent Queen, Luke Drywalker, and Mr. Chris. So I'd have to say number one is probably Boneworks. Close second, Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and I think I'll reserve a spot for Half-Life Alyx. So, I just told you what my favorite VR game is, but Mima wants to know what my favorite game is. I'm going to assume he meant non-VR, so my favorite non-VR game is probably Hitman 2, or one of the Hitman games. I just really love that franchise and I still play it to this day. So, those are the answers to your questions you asked me this month. If you would like to submit your own questions, please go to my Discord server down below and put your question inside of the questions chat. I'll try my best to answer it in next month's episode. But anyway, I hope you found some of my answers helpful. I've been Rickon, and I will see you all next time.